say Super Soul Sunday. I love my Super Soul Sundays because I get to speak or have conversations with fantastic individuals doing amazing things in their community. And today I'm all the way in Ghana, virtually. So, don't call me and say, Nana, bring me some and now more, all the Ghanaian stuff. I am here in the UK, but I'm in Ghana virtually. And I am going to be having this brilliant conversation with Mr. Jonathan Osei Owusu and his team from POS Foundation. They've traveled all the way to Asinfosu, so they are very tired, but they have given me the honor to talk. So, Jonathan, welcome to Nana Chechi Show.
Thank you very much, Nana. It's been a while.
Yes, it's been a while. I remember my early days when I interviewed you at the around the Independence Square. You remember?
That is true.
That is very true.
It's been
And
ages.
it's been ages. So I'm honored to be talking to you and your team. So I want to say hello to all of them behind you. Um, tell us the lady and the others behind you.
Let me say good evening from Ghana to the numerous and your cherished viewers watching us from Ghana. Precisely, myself and the team find ourselves in Asanfusu in the central region to undertake a project on women economic empowerment, gender equity, and access to justice for grassroots women. And that is why you can see that we find ourselves in a hotel, and my team is behind me because we just got and checked into the hotel to do a 3-day workshop. So this is Juliana. She's in charge of the gender. She's a project officer and a paralegal. And so she's Juliana Abokuma Ezi.
Abokuma, over to them. How are you? Good. Right.
And then when you go to the other side, you can also see that we have introduce yourself. Let's have a conversation.
Hi, I'm Prosper Adedemensa from the University of Ghana, interning with POS Foundation.
All right. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you.
Great.
So we have 3 of them coming from the University of Ghana. They are doing field work from social works, right?
Yes.
And so all of them are here, and so we have Dede representing them. Yes, young man. Come closer and introduce yourself.
I'm Ellis Yabua, doing my service with the POS Foundation.
Okay. Ennis, how are you?
I'm good. How about you?
I'm very well, thank you.
I'm Ibrahim Adu from the University of Professional Studies, currently an intern at POS Foundation.
Oh, fantastic. Wow. How are you too?
I'm doing great.
Fantastic. Okay.
And then the IT person who did everything, you can see you've been communicating with him. Yes, introduce yourself.
I'm Kobno Chebi. I'm the head of IT.
Yeah, Kobna, how are you?
I'm fine, thank you. Please.
Yeah, congratulations to you all.
Thank you. And in the course of our discussion, Sylvester, my deputy, and others who may walk in, may also introduce themselves. But the main reason why we have this interview is to, like you said, look at the 15 years of POS Foundation and then the kind of work we are doing here. So I wouldn't want your viewers who are anxious and willing to hear 1 or 2 from us to be sitting back looking at introductions left, right, center. But as and when it's necessary, we can mention that. So I hand over the ball back to you. You gave me the platform so that you can now be the coach and then take us through.
That is my Jonathan. Well, fantastic. A huge congratulations. 15 years. It's not a joke. So I'm so proud of you and your team for all that you're doing. But Jonathan, tell me how all this started.
Somewhere 2005. Let me say a young man who had come from a village called Asine Dubiase, more or less with passion to affect society and to also bring about justice to many, decided to get a ministry for himself. And then with that, was to set up a ministry to look at youth development. In the process, when we realized that there was unemployment, youth issues were so much in the mentioning, we did our best, and gradually we found ourselves doing human rights, access to justice, criminal justice, and now we've become 15 years where we are a force to reckon with in terms of our work in championing justice, youth development, women economic empowerment, and etc. So we may dive into each of these activities that we've done over the years, but that is the best I can do with the introduction, as in having this young man trying to affect society and getting a lot of people who shared in his vision to also push the agenda for other young people to embrace it. And that is where we are now as POS Foundation.
Jonathan, someone asked, how old are you? I want to, because I know you began at a very young age. And so I'll view someone is as how old are you? If you don't mind us asking.
Currently, I am 37 years. You
Currently.
know, mentioning your age sometimes, but it's good. It's good you asked, because
Yeah.
looking at where we came from, and looking at where we are currently, and looking at what we've been able to achieve, and compared to our age from where we find ourselves, it hasn't been the issue. It hasn't been easy. Easy in the sense that in other jurisdictions, they have the platform to be able to grow up, speed up the process, and make impact in society at their early stage. But when you are from this jurisdiction, and you are able to come up and do something significant in this manner, and people acknowledge it and lives are being impacted, a lot of people would like to know how you made it with your age into consideration. So I agree with you. But so far, so
Yeah.
good. We started young.
Yeah. I'm asking this because as you said, in where we're coming from, sometimes when you're young, one, you're not taking that serious because there is the notion that it's the elderly that have the wisdom, and from day one you have really showed maturity in your field and continue to do so. And I think that we should recognize and applaud you for that. And you've been very consistent. It's not like, you've really been consistent and celebrating 15 years despite all the challenges. I really, really applaud you. So well done, and well done to the people around you. You have always championed for prisoners in Ghana, and I want to know why you started with that.
We began with the youth development. At some point, we realized that a lot of young people were being sent to jail because of crime. Gradually, we entered into human rights. Then we realized that the rights of young people have also been abused. Then there was a program that was initiated by the state. This is how the program came about. The program is called the Justice for All program. Somewhere in the early 2000s, the prison population stood at a very high rate in terms of overcrowding. And it will surprise you that the overcrowding rate at that time, somewhere around 2004, was somewhere around 72%. And the remand population, if I say remand population, is the pre-trial detainees. Those who have not stand trial, those who have not been convicted, they were about 33% of the total population in prison. So as a human rights organization, a youth-focused organization, we joined the program somewhere in 2014 and decided to champion the cause of prisoners who are on trial, who have been put on remand and have not had their cases heard. When we joined, we were able to have participate in a mobile special court set up in prison. So what the program does is Justice for All goes to the prison, set up prisons in court, at a court in prison, and then they adjudicate remand cases. And some of them have been there for 10 years. Others have been there for 20 years. We released a man called Zorukuta somewhere in Ankafo prisons who had been there for 20 good years, or let me say over 20 years. Why? Because we were trying to get his docket and we couldn't find his docket.
Wow.
The record that we put together, the pieces of record we put together, that is, let me say, the last state attorney who was there when the case was heard, the last police commander who was transferred. When we put these pieces of event together, we realized that indeed the man had been there for over 20 years. But because my office is an office of record, we wouldn't say more than 20 years because those were the pieces we could put together to put on record that a man in our prisons who had not stand trial had spent 20 years without, who had just been accused. So when you come down, we have 10 years, we have 15 years. It will surprise you that our work has even brought people who, as a result of their haircut, has find themselves in prison for a year or two because they claim the haircut resembles somebody who assaulted an old lady. And when they arrested him and sent him to prison, he was sent on remand to prison and he was left and forgotten. And they couldn't do anything about his case until the Justice for All program went to prison with our team, sat as a court, reviewed the cases, and some of these cases came out for redress. And the court saw it wise to acquit and discharge them. Saw it wise to discharge them so that they go home and continue on their work. So in terms of prison work, we are dealing with remand prisoners who have been accused or charged for an offense but have not stand trial and have spent 5 years, 6 years, and a lot of years in prison. It's something fulfilling that we do together with the state. And if I may put on record, this is one of the programs that we can fully and wholeheartedly say that it is a complete and unique partnership that has been successful between civil society and the state called government. And so we will want to see more of such to be able to help those who do not have the financial capabilities or muscle to get the services of lawyers to go to their aid. So my office serves as the legal team that represents the accused person, more or less the person on remand. We go into prison with the team that you saw right behind me.
Mm.
We do that, and then we interview them, put the applications, we file their applications, and then at the end of the day, what we do is that we sit in court, and then they adjudicate their cases, and then some of them go home. Sometimes we have about 3 courts sitting in prison at the same time. And it will surprise you to know that if we have about 70, 100 cases, often you will have about 60% of them going home. And that is very remarkable work that has gone on. And I will end that one by saying, since the inception of the program in 2007, the program has reduced the remand population of Ghana from 33% to 12.5 as of September this year, a drastic reduction in prison.
That is brilliant. Well, before we continue our conversation, somebody is asking, what does POS stand for?
Because of the work we do and the impact we've made, the POS has now become a household name more or less in Ghana and rests on the minds of many.
Yeah.
So when you give the full meaning, you are lost. But when you say POS Foundation, you get a lot of people knowing the kind of organization you're talking about. POS Foundation is Perfecter of Sentiment Foundation. That is Perfecter of Sentiment Foundation. So in short, we are called the POS Foundation. And our core mandate, or we seek to promote human rights, youth development, social accountability, law and policy reforms, as well as gender equity and women economic empowerment across many other regions that we find ourselves.
Well, wow, that is wonderful. So I want to ask, with these prisoners, before we continue our conversation, how do they reach out to you?
You know, we work with the National Remand Review Task Force that is made up of the Judicial Service, Attorney General's Department on behalf of the state, the police, the prisons, the SRAJ, and ourselves. We, POS Foundation, serve as facilitators of the Justice for All program. It is being coordinated by the Chief Justice and his office, that is the judiciary. So when we want to go into Kumasi prisons, for example, we will request for the remand list, prisoners or incarcerated persons who have been put on remand, and then they will give us the list. But because our system is not so perfect, like maybe that of US in terms of addressing system and etc., you will know that some charges are very serious and they cannot be added when you have been sent on remand. For example, murder, robbery. The criteria set by the Remand Review Task Force, the National Task Force, is that if you have been charged with murder or robbery, because it's a serious crime, if you've not been in prison for more than 2 years, you cannot be considered to be part of the program. And the program does not go into prison to release criminals.
Okay.
We are looking at people who are innocent and have been sent to prison, and they don't have money to get a lawyer to fight for them, and they are left there and they don't have any remedy. So POS Foundation, who goes to interview them, will come back, and then based on the remand list that has been given to them, we will now listen to those who qualify to be heard. And so if you've been there on the charge of murder and robbery, in fact, from day 1 or day 2, you can go to court and ask the court to grant you bail. But at the end of the day, because you do not have that financial capabilities, and because the court more or less, the investigators are more or less trying to investigate the matter, we need to give them enough time for them to do that. In the process of giving them enough time, murder and robbery are taken out so that the rest, which may not be serious crimes that do not deserve someone to be put in prison, can be handled by this court, because it's a special court that reviews the case. So that is how we get the list. So we don't discriminate. Whatever charge you've been put in there, we get the list. They review the list at the national level. We get to prison. We interview you. We come back the following time with judges who will sit in prison, convert the offices as courts, and then they will adjudicate the cases and know that no, you have not been treated.
Well, Jonathan is dialing in from Asinfosu, which is in the central region. So we might be having some breaks, with live interviews. But we are celebrating POS Foundation, and for 15 years of service. They've been really, really doing so well in the prisons. They are really helping the community in human rights advocacy, youth development. And today I am chatting with the founder, Jonathan Osei Owusu, and the POS Foundation team. So hopefully they will come back and join us. But as we continue, I just finished an Insta live not long ago, so you want to check it out as well on Instagram. I had a conversation with Matt Baird, who is an international speaker, an author, an entrepreneur, and doing so many things. We learned so much on helping our communities, especially if you're Christian as well. We touch on faith, so you want to check that one out. I will post that one later. But as I wait for Jonathan to join me, how has been your weekend? And we still in the pandemic. We in the UK are still on lockdown. And what are you doing with your life? What are you doing with whatever you're doing? And this morning I did post as well, on my Facebook, on my page, about celebrating my mom who turned 70. She did turn 70 in May. So she's not a November born. She turned 70 in May, but because there was national lockdown and all that, the family couldn't celebrate her. But then she is an executive member and was a local women's leader, and she retired. So we joined the two and celebrated her the weekend, and so that's why I posted to celebrate. So happy birthday to you, my dearest mommy, if you're watching. 70, you were so blessed to live to see your children's children, and I am thankful to God for using you to bring me into this world. Maybe one of these days I'll put her live and interview her, and being a mother and a woman's, and I happen to be a women's ministry leader as well. So now I understand where the blessing is coming from. But how has your week been? If we're not able to get to Jonathan, I'm going to end here, and hopefully if he comes back live we will join. But I am praying for you, and I know you're praying for me. If you're a fan, I pray that before the year ends, whatever you have been crying to God for this year, you will see it come to pass. Well, I think my Jonathan is back. Jonathan, welcome back. I nearly ended the show. Oh
Thank you
yeah.
very much. I'm sorry to your viewers.
It's
Sometimes
okay.
happen.
I
It's
did
technology.
expect. I know that you were in Asin for you, right? It's somewhat. It's in the central region, right?
It's in the central region. So we are even fortunate we've been able to have a lengthy time. But I think it will be more better now. We have to switch to another device. So we are
Okay,
good to go.
fantastic. And so, how come you don't speak Fanti? Because anytime I get to speak to you, it's tree. It's more tree than Fanti.
Oh, but the people of Assam don't speak Fanti. We speak Assam, and Assam is different from Fanti. It's rather more or less tree.
Is it?
Yes,
With
the
the central?
Asante. Yes, so we don't
Oh,
speak Fanti.
okay.
No.
All right. I need to come back and tell Ghana properly. We are we're more of Accra Tema, and Kumasi and Cape Coast. But when you said that simple, so I knew that. But hey, I'm glad you're back. So let's continue our
but
conversation.
but that is why we need to come back to the villages, the towns, and be able to make impact there. So if
Oh,
NGOs and developing partners are always looking at Accra, Kumasi, you see, it gets a bit choked. We have a lot of us down here where we all come from that we need them to be empowered to be able to hold the grassroots development for a collective goal.
I am proud of you. I'm very thankful that you have made it out there and you're doing what you're doing for the community. And well, tell me some of the stakeholders that you have some big stakeholders tell me how they all came on board to support um your mission.
When we look at the stakeholders, they are into about three categories. Even our audience and our target groups are still our stakeholders. And we also have the donors, those who support the work that we do. And then we also have partners, like you talk about the embassies, you talk about the state institutions like judicial service. We have the police, I mentioned earlier. We have other NGOs that we collaborate with. When it comes to donors, we have been funded by previously DANIDA, the Danish Development Agency, and later came in with USIWA, which is Open Society Foundations, and currently with JIZ, German Corporation. So once in a while, you have some pilot project also with the U.S. Department of State. And these are the key people that have funded our work. But like you rightly said, when you came to interview me the first time years ago, what we did was we were talking about the stress and the struggle we've gone through, and now the work has been so significant that we have made important strides, and so we have donors coming in. Previously, it was work done and impact made by ourselves and with our resources because we were passionate about the work we're doing, and that we don't need a donor to come to us before we affect our society positively. So that is one thing that I must say whilst we are acknowledging our partners and donors as well as our target groups, those we work for and work with.
During the lockdown, I mean, when the pandemic started, you really, really championed for the president to give amnesty to prisoners. How? Tell me how you and your team were able to coordinate that, and you did also a lot of donations to them.
In fact, if you look at some of the quotes I've put out there, I was describing the most vulnerable or marginalized group under this COVID-19 or cases like pandemics such as COVID-19. One, prisoners. Two, orphans. Three, disability persons. So we needed to go to the orphanage to support them. And we cried out to you. You gave us support. Together, we went to the orphanage, Royal Seed Orphanage Home, and then we supported them. Then it came again that the prisoners or the inmates, someone will say the incarcerated persons, are the people who suffer most. They are confined and they are restricted. So when pandemic like that hits your country, they are supposed to be given enough attention. So we also spoke to OSF, Open Society Foundation, and GIZ, Chairman Corporation, and they came to our aid. So we started giving PPE, that is protective equipment, personal protective equipment to support the work by Ghana Prison Service. So in the process where we moved from the southern part of Ghana, from Nsawam prisons to Kumasi prisons to Sunyani prisons, all the way to Tamale and Navrongo, getting to the border of the borders of Ghana and Burkina Faso. So we went all the way there to help them champion this cause as in the fight against this pandemic called COVID-19. We did this because we realized many other countries that have developed were even struggling to control it in prison. But Ghana, we must applaud Ghana Prison Service for the strict adherence to the protocols that they put in place. We as civil society and government went to their aid to help, but they did the work. We complemented the good things that they were doing. We were able to push and assist them to the extent that at the end of our donation, at the end of our training and orientation with inmates and officers, we can boldly say that up to today, there is no single COVID case reported in Ghana's prisons.
Wow.
Something when we meet people, we talk about they don't believe it. And you can I'm putting this on record that there is no single COVID case reported in any of Ghana's prisons. The few that you may have heard on air were people who were brought from the police cells into the prisons. And even with those people who had tested positive from the police cells, they were tested and they were isolated and they were observed for a time before they are clean and or they are tested negative before they put them back into the main prison because it is not a bad news, so it doesn't sell. And people may think that it is not true, but this is real. I checked from other countries, they are struggling to deal with it in their prisons, but Ghana have prevented it and not recorded anything. There's another thing that the prison service did that was so good. They did something called risk communication. In other jurisdictions in other African countries, you realize that their president had to go into the prisons to talk to inmates before tempest came down because others wanted to break jail for the sake of the fact that they felt COVID had come into prison and they needed to save their lives. In Ghana, the prisons authorities, together with the state and civil society like us, had trainings for them, and they oriented them to let them understand the disease so that there will not be fear and panic. It was still something that we were trying to help them to maintain the standard they have set for themselves. It was through this process that the question you asked came in, that we requested that the president activate Article 72 of the 1992 Constitution to grant amnesty to minor offenders, those who have committed minor offenders, petty offenses, misdemeanor, and etc. And we equally added that there are people who may have been sentenced there for drug use all over the world. We are now getting to realize that the drug war was on human beings and on color. In Ghana, the drug law is on poverty. So if you check another quote on my work, I also said that the criminalization of drug use is a direct criminalization of poverty, because the rich will be arrested by the police. They will be able to save themselves by paying their way through. And we see it often. And then if you even happen to go to court, you'll still be able to get a lawyer to defend you because you are rich. But when a poor person goes to use drug, you don't have money for a lawyer. You can't pay your way through where it exists. So you are then sent to prison because not you are smoking, but because you are poor. And that is why I'm saying that it is a direct criminalization of poverty when you criminalize drug use. So we asked the president to also grant amnesty to drug users so that they can go home. Some of them need treatment. They don't need to be sent to prison. So those who need treatment can be given treatment, which we were willing to support. But others were for recreational purposes. One day they go out with their friends, they smoke, and they were caught. It's not that they are chain smokers or they use it and etc. So when we made the call, fortunately, the president granted another amnesty, and in total, the amnesty were, the first amnesty when COVID happened, and the second amnesty when we were making all the legitimate for the president to hear our cry of prisons. So as we talk with you now, the police in prison have reduced from somewhere 15,000 early this year to 13 point something thousand, and 13,300 thereabout from statistics we are getting from prisons. So gradually, Ghana's criminal justice faces a lot of challenges, though we are admired by many African countries as one of the best. But we are also championing the redress of these challenges that pops up in our criminal justice. And so far, so good with successive governments. We've been able to reduce remand population from 33% to 12%, and then the total prison population have also dropped from 15,000 to 13,000, and so there is progress being made. But one surprising thing I may have to add when you mentioned COVID was that just after we had gone through the prison donating PPEs and etc. coming down, I came back with my team, and we have been hit by COVID ourselves. It wasn't an easy thing. Though we may have seen it as the normal code that we have received, this was severe. And we never anticipated it was COVID, so we were just home going up and down, work, doing our own thing. But later, when we thought it was to test, we tested, and 2 of us had COVID, including myself. So I had to personally isolate. And so if you see the donation that was done, as well as the female prisons, I wasn't even part of it because nobody knew I was in isolation. That was long ago, months upon months. So far, we've got the office is back running. As you can see, they are all here with me.
They're all here.
And we are back in our same
They're all
trying to
open.
do our humanitarian work.
Wow, we thank God that you all recovered, and you are always on the road. So I know, and I always say that you guys should try and rest and and take it easy over there. So these prisoners that when they come out, how are they placed back into society?
In fact, that is one of the challenging factors or issues that we are being confronted with. When someone is on remand or is a pre-trial detainee, the fact of the matter is he is not a prisoner. He has just been accused of an offense or a charge. And so when the court sits and finds him not guilty and release him, he goes back to society, to his people. But when you want us to reintegrate people into society, and it was surprising to know that the Justice for All program came under serious criticism by the prisoners that we are dealing with pre-trial detainees and not dealing with convicted prisoners or incarcerated persons. So what happened was we instituted another program with partnership from the U.S. Department of State to do what we call in-prison paralegal program. The in-prison paralegal program is to train inmates or prison prisoners and officers as paralegals, who then would help those who do not have money and have been convicted wrongly to appeal on their cases. And to our surprise, one of the cases we filed by inmates and officers who supported the person to file to represent him or herself got acquitted and discharged. You'll be surprised. This is a woman who was charged with drug offenses, like he was charged with marijuana. In fact, after 4 years out of the 11 years given to her or handed over to her by the court, the High Court, who handled the appeal case, discharged and acquitted her completely for no wrong. These people, we are facing challenges to integrate them into society. As I'm talking with you, before we left, the woman fell sick after spending 4 years for no wrong done and receiving justice. She can't have a place to stay. She's still staying in an uncompleted building with the cloth on the ground or on the floor with the what we call in Ghana the kechiri, the last born, who is around 17 years. What to eat always will have to come from POS Foundation. These and many people that we have released out of prison are the main reason why we now want to move a step further to be able to help these people. Very soon, we may be premiering a video of this woman, because it is wrong for a woman of that nature, 65 years, who was selling beverages and doing choba, what we call the choba, at the construction site, and then preparing banku and fufu for people to eat. Then the police, if you read the records of proceedings in court, it was the two policemen who were witnesses against this woman. And they said they saw a bag that had some dry leaves, and the quantity is not even up this fist where I have, is that right? And it was found 100 meters away from where the woman lives, an uncompleted building, away from where they took the bag. Yet they were able to speak, and court convicted this woman to 11 years imprisonment with hard labor. And if they were right, our appeal wouldn't have succeeded. But because they were wrong, the woman was acquitted and discharged by a higher court than the court that sentenced her. And we always ask, what do we do for such people? And that is the question you asked. So if I digress a bit, I just wanted your viewers to understand that these are practical issues that we are dealing with, and that at this moment, we have funding to take care of them when they are in prison so that they can get justice. But when they come out, it always asks the small money you take, the small per diem that when you travel, you are supposed to enjoy with your family, are the monies that we all as a team come together to take care of these people, to integrate them into society and see what they can do for themselves. So it's a very big challenge that we have. Though we are doing our maximum best to cut the prison population, we still think there is a lot that can be done to reform, rehabilitate, and reintegrate these people into society so that we do not even get the issue of recidivism, that is, reoffending. Because when people get to prison and they come back and they are not well integrated into society or integrated into society, it becomes a challenge and they want to go back to where they came from. Some of them call it home sweet home because when they come out, society rejects them. And so they have to do something else and go back there. And by going back there, it is even a bigger risk for us because he may have gone there with the role of weed, but he comes back, he knows and understands all the terrain. He may go back in with a gun and he may have taken a life. And so we need to look at the reintegration of prisoners into our society, which is a challenge for all of us, including Ghana Prison Service, because they are under-resourced and the place is still overcrowded, it's still at the prisons. Because if you look at in Salon, for example, the authorized capacity is somewhere around 850. But currently, they are hosting almost 3,000. So we still have congestion. Yes, that is it. And when you look at Kumasi, it's also somewhere around 800, 900. They are hosting around 1,800. So twice the amount. And so if we do not look at alternatives to incarceration, it will become a challenge. And that is what POS Foundation is also doing with government. As I'm talking with you now, we have been able to come up with the first non-custodial sentence, what we call community service bill, so that not every offense will have to take somebody to prison. If you go to steal a mobile phone worth 100 Ghana cedi, yes, you've committed a crime, but we could give you some work to do to clean the gutters. Our criminal offenses, our criminal offenses and other procedure act, that is the criminal code, do not give room for judges to sentence people to community service. So now that we have partnered government and come up through a consultant with the first bill, which is currently at the cabinet level, government is pushing and we are pushing so that we can have some of these people not be sent to prison, but to do some work outside so that we take the burden of feeding and other things from government. We have also done that again, what we call the parole. And in US, you know, UK, you know the parole system. We have the parole in our laws, but we don't have what we call the constitutional instrument, which is the regulation to activate it. Currently, and I think last 2 weeks, we met Ghana Prison Service. The consultant has finished the work on draft legislation. And so we discussed it and debated it with my team and the prisons. And very soon we will hand over a copy to the prison service to push it for its passage so that those who are on parole, mistakenly, they were fighting and somebody might have lost life and the person have been sentenced to on charge of manslaughter. These people are not so harmful to society because it was a mistake that happened. After 7, maybe if the person has been sentenced to 10 years or 5 years, after 7, maybe 4 years, they can ask the person to go on parole or come on parole and then see how best the person can reform into society. That is to decongest the prisons. And these are the kind of work that me, myself, and the team from POS Foundation have been championing over the past 15 years. And it will surprise you to know that none of us is even 40 years. We are all below, the majority is below even 30 years, and they are trained as paralegals, and they are doing all this work only because they are passionate about the work and they see it as personal, because today it is somebody, tomorrow it may be us or them. So we take it as something personal and push it for the people to know that indeed, even though the system may not be perfect, there are other group of people, including the system itself, putting in place some measures to correct these wrongs so that people who need justice can have justice as they want it.
Justice for all. I am so impressed. So, as we were about to round up, you recently got an award, and you were going to fly to Paris, but with the president as a guest of honor. But because of COVID, hmm, COVID have really stopped a lot of people from traveling. There's almost everyone from traveling this year. You were coming to Paris. So tell me about that one.
Well, like you rightly said, the first award was the Humanitarian Awards Ghana, where we received an honorary award. Let me put it that way. Not in a competition, because I often don't want to join in competitions like that. If you see the good work that we've done and you want to applaud us, go ahead and do it. If not, we do it for humanity and for the love of it. So it's good to be recognized. That was the humanitarian award. Then secondly, there was the Paris Peace Forum, one of the, do I say, renowned or big events in Europe, where they solicited for applications of interventions and programs in various countries across the world. And Paris Peace Forum, according to 2020 statistics, had 850 applications or programs or projects. And out of that, we screened to 100. So the 100, we were all supposed to meet at Paris. And I was fully aware that the president, now that it was confidential, now that the president couldn't travel because all of us couldn't travel because of COVID, it's no more news. I think it's because of the security, that's why we don't have to put this out there. But it's over, so we can say it. And he was going to be one of the VVIPs. And so we're going to also be there with the president to pitch our project for scale up to see if we could win. Out of the 100, they were looking for only 10 cases, projects. And we were surprised that the Justice for All program amid COVID-19 was selected among the 10 cases, which was the fifth intervention. And this is something we want other countries to look at. Because with our brothers and sisters from Kenya, they have started something similar called All for Justice. And Ghana's own is Justice for All. And it also helped to decongest the prisons. When you go to the UN, Ghana came out of praise, or was praised and commended for the Justice for All program during the third cycle on the Universal Periodic Review, when Ghana's human rights record was also being reviewed over there. So in the work, in terms of the work that we do, there have been significant achievements, and we hope to scale it to other countries and help them decongest their prisons as we are enjoying in our country.
Whoa, wow, wow, wow. Congratulations. So, Jonathan, can I ask you this question? Are you going to run for office in a political office as you further this wonderful organization of yours?
It will interest you to know that many want to find out, and many are trying to know if I have any intention to go into politics or to go in government.
Yeah.
You see, when it came to awards, I said we do not want to go competing left, right, center, except when it's very, very, very relevant. We want to sit back and do what we know how to do best. In terms of going into government is supposed to be seen as you going there to serve. If you don't have anything to offer, you don't go there. If it becomes necessary that I have something to offer and I can only do or amplify my work in that capacity somewhere in future, then so be it. But as it stands now, it is not part of my consideration because I am happy with my team, the kind of impact that we're making. Most of us are paralegals and not lawyers. If we go together with the state to sit in prisons and you have a lot of people coming out of prison, will you not be happy that a case that a lawyer may handle for years, and of course some are in prison, you are privileged to have a system by the state and you are facilitating and you are able to bring people out within the shortest possible time legitimately? How would you feel? So if continuing the passion with my team, and by God's grace, I must say that I have a very formidable team, young, vibrant, wise, intelligent, and dedicated. So if I have this team and we can affect society through our effort, why go to government? But if government decide to approach me and say, because of the work you and your team are doing, we want some partnership to be able to affect society this way, so we want you to do this and this and that. Because of the love for the people, it is a bigger platform to probably expand. And that can be a consideration. to go stand for MP, which is being called upon, and being called upon, those kind of things, I am not taking any of those calls into consideration, because me and my team, or myself and my team, we love what we do. And we want to do that to affect more lives from the corner where we find ourselves. Many times people want to also go like, you go to government, you do well, but brighten the corner where you find yourself. Even if it is small and you brighten that corner, that shine that you put into that corner will reflect on somebody's face or self, and that will also reflect onto somebody else. And the replica effect positively will be that a lot of people will benefit from society. And that, by doing that, you are saving a lot of lives. Martin Luther King said something I want you to take note of. He said, injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. So if we think that we are in UK, US, and we don't want to think about the injustice being meted onto some people in Ghana or Nigeria, you'll be surprised that the issue happening in Nigeria, most of our friends there are finding ways to come to stay in Ghana. If one state in Nigeria, it's like when you put Ghana 3-4 times as one state. Imagine if just one state decides to come stay in Ghana. So that injustice in their country that you may want to keep a blind eye on and not to help them fight can be injustice everywhere, because now when they become many, even over here, just to seek refuge or seek asylum, the system will be choked.
Yeah.
And a lot of people will now be suffering, and part of suffering, they may also go along to violate people's rights. These are the things we're talking about. So we need to know that the individual in your hands, at your job place, at your in your house, the so-called servants that we have, they are all human beings and must be treated like that as such. Because if you want to molest that boy you are staying with, he will grow up hating certain things. He will marry, and at the end of the day, that small injustice when he was young that he received from his master may be transferred. I said may, because that is not what it's supposed to be, to the wife and children. And you see that the little mistake that you did is having a lot of effect as we move on. So we are doing our best as young people to affect our society positively. In the corner, we find ourselves to brighten it. And I wish many who also want to do it and do it well for Mother Ghana, for humanity, and for God and country.
Yeah, for God and country and for love and country. I am so, so thankful that I get to have this conversation with you. And one thing I pray that a leader is listening to a young man like yourself who has such passion for his motherland, for Ghana, and is doing this. And I pray that Almighty God bless you and bless your team and all that you do. And one thing I also pray that your donors will multiply, that you will be able to continue as we step into a new year, that you will reach every corner, everywhere that you really want to take your organization to. And I am thankful that my foundation and myself is associated with you. And I want to use this opportunity to say thank you for standing in for me to doing donations as a when I need your help. So thank you very much to you and your team. And I know that I owe you guys lunch, so it will be coming soon.
I wasn't going to forget about that, because the team is here and they heard you. So they can't wait to meet you when you come back to Ghana for the lunch.
Yeah, yeah. So, and happy 15th anniversary to you all. I wish you all the best this days that you're going to spend over in Asimfosu, and I hope to connect again.
Well, thank you very much. And on behalf of my team, as they are all here, not asleep and still going through the stressful night, we also want to thank you very much, because we've been partners doing work for Ghana and for those who are marginalized in society. They really appreciate the work that you are doing also over there, because you are not just amplifying the voices of those who are weak in society and not just exposing the good work of many across the world, but you are also doing that, you are walking the talk, because you are not just talking and interviewing. you are doing that to touch lives, and you're also sending resources down for people to also have their lives affected. So we are in the same soup and we are doing the same work. Maybe somebody's calling is like to be a pastor and a priest. Our calling is to also put smiles on the face of those who need it so that they can also have hope in future. So on behalf of my team from POS Foundation, I thank you, your husband, your crew, your team for giving us such an opportunity and for also the partnership that we have existed among us over the years. So you can see the team behind and have a very wonderful.
Yeah, yeah. So, well, I can see all of them. So have a wonderful, wonderful. Try
All
and
right,
rest.
thank
You
you.
guys are going to do a lot of
All
work in the coming week. So have a good rest, and we will catch up soon. Okay.
right.
God
Very
bless
much,
you
Minister.
all. Bye bye. So that was Jonathan Osei Owusu with his POS Foundation. And if you want to know more, it's POS Foundation. You can follow them on Facebook, on Instagram, and see the great work that you're doing. And you never know, maybe you can also support them. Have a wonderful, wonderful week, and always know that you belong at the top. Thank you for joining. Bye bye.